Naturally, when people think of Florida, they think of beaches, and especially in an area like Sarasota, where we have Siesta Key, which is known as being one of the top beaches in the country and actually in the world. So of course, that's where your mind goes. But really, there is so much more you can do outside here in the Sarasota area. Now, there are things like art and music festivals, food festivals, there's different types of farmers markets, outdoor concerts here and there that get on a schedule. But if you're just looking for something to do outside almost any day of the week, that's what I want to share with you today. 5 things you can do outside. Let's get beyond the beach. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and I'm here to help. The weekend before recording this video, I actually had family down from Ohio, my sister-in-law and one of my nephews and a niece. And we actually went to a couple of these places I'm going to mention in today's video. And that's really the inspiration for doing this one, because it got me thinking. So often, when you live in an area for a while, you just sort of forget or take for granted what you have right there outside your back door. So that's why I wanted to share with you these 5 places. Number 1, Myakka River State Park. Back in the early 1900s, Bertha Palmer came down here from Chicago and bought a lot of land. And if you've heard of like Palmer Ranch, that's named after her. Honore, I believe, is her maiden name. And there's some other street names and areas around here that are named after her. So for you Chicago folks, that's Bertha Palmer from your area up there. Well, anyway, she bought this land. And then when President Roosevelt signed the New Deal, 17,000 of those acres that Bertha Palmer had originally purchased became Myakka River State Park. Now, often we just say Myakka State Park. We usually drop the river part, but technically that's the name. Today, Myakka State Park really offers something for everyone, whether you want to go cycling, bringing your bicycle or rent a bicycle, hiking, bird watching, canoeing, kayaking. There's a boat ramp there when it's opened. There's a boat that you can pay to go on as well. Let's see, camping, horseback riding, fishing. There is a lot to do. And as I already kind of mentioned, some of these things, if you don't have them yourself, you can rent them, whether it's a canoe or going on the boat tours or a bicycle as well. So there's a lot you can do. They've got a campground there or cabins that you can rent. For you that like to hike or walk, there is one hiking loop that's about 40 miles, and then there's a bunch of other smaller ones as well. What I like is a lot of the hiking is in shade, so when it does get a little bit warmer here, it keeps it cool. Now, when we went, it was really pleasant in the morning being in the shade. I found it not cold, but a little cooler. My Ohio family, they still found it a little warm just because it snowed while they were here. It snowed up north, so that's where they're coming from. While we were there, almost everybody went over the Myakka Canopy Bridge. While we were there, almost everyone went over the Myakka Canopy Walkway. It is a suspended bridge about 25 feet off the ground. Now, it's not a swinging bridge. I passed on that because I cannot handle the heights, especially if it were to swing. It didn't swing. Everybody said it was very stable, but I just took their word for it. But anyhow, so they went across. That was beautiful. And then when you go across, there's a tower at the other end, and I believe that's like 72 feet up, so you can go up and just see some great views and more wildlife. One of our favorite things to do while we were there, and that what the teenagers like to do, was look for the alligators. So we kept track. We saw over 20 of them. Some of them we saw safely close up, and they were huge. So it's kind of fun, different places you stop to look for those. It's not really dangerous, just don't feed them or anything like that. People were dropping in their canoes or kayaks to go in the water right next to them. And that's a normal thing. Pretty much if you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. I would just be careful if you had a little dog. And the park is pet friendly. We saw a ton of dogs there on Saturday, and so that was kind of cute too. Although there are restaurants there, a couple little cafes, or you can buy some junk food while you're there in the park. They have a lot of picnic tables. So we packed our picnic lunch and just sat outside and ate, and it was a gorgeous day. Now, the main access to Myakka State Park is off of Clark Road or State Road 72. Sometimes people, when they look at a map, they see that before they see Clark Road. As locals, we just call it Clark, but just east of I-75, and it's not too far out there. I mean, we live in central Sarasota, and I don't know, it maybe took us 15 minutes to get there, 20 minutes at the most. It's super affordable to go in. You just pay by the carload. So it's a very inexpensive, lovely way to spend your day. Number 2, Nathan Benderson Park. Now this park is a little bit newer to us. We just had it around the last maybe 10 years, and it's really taken off in the last 5 or 6 years, I want to say, but it's primarily known as a rowing park. And there's competitions there. There's been international competitions that's really put this park on the map on a larger scale. Now, for locals, what's nice about it, it's just a nice way to go walking, or if you want to cycle or go jogging. Or even rollerblading, skateboarding. So around the lake, there are actually 2 paths, and each one are about 3.5 miles. They just go straight around the park, and one is paved, which is great if you've got wheels, and then the other one is made of shell. Now, the downside to it is very little of this is shaded, so you're going to be out in the sun all the time, so just be prepared for that. And then there's also a playground there. They offer fitness classes right there at the park, and then there's actually some regular events that take place besides anything associated with the rowing. First of all, Nick Walinda of the Flying Walindas of circus fame, because of course we're a circus town. Often he will do practices there. He'll set up a wire, and so locals can go and sit, and there's regular times where he'll go and practice, so you can go and sit there and watch. It's a great place to go for fireworks. They do other random events too, different festivals, or like a color run, if you're familiar with that. And at Christmas time, the lights are fabulous. I love just going over there or even just driving past and seeing all the lights. Now, Nathan Benderson Park is just south of University Town Center off of Cattleman Road, just south of just University Road as well in Sarasota County. So it's a nice, great central location, and it's just a beautiful place to go. There can be gators in the water. Sometimes you have the ability to maybe rent a kayak or a canoe if you want to go in the water there, or bring your own. People do that. You can go fishing there. If I didn't mention that, I don't recall if I said that or not. So it's just a pretty area to go to walk around, or maybe even just go to see the sunset. If you don't want to go all the way out to the beach and try to find a parking spot, it can be really pretty there as well. Number 3, the Ringling Museum. Now this is the other place we went to this weekend with my family, because actually my nephew was coming down to check out the Ringling School of Art and Design. So after he graduates from high school, he may or may not attend there. So that's exciting to maybe have him come down here. But anyway, so we went to the Ringling Museum, and of course, this is John and Mabel Ringling of, again, the circus folks, the Ringling brothers. And so this was his home, and he bought lots of artwork, or we had a lot of artwork commissioned. And so this is housed there. In addition, there's the Circus Museum, which is really fascinating. It was a lot of fun to walk through that. And then the grounds are just absolutely gorgeous. It's on the water, it's on the bay, so you can walk around, look at the gardens. There's rose gardens, beautiful statues, huge banyan trees. And so again, even though some of it's outside, you can just go there to enjoy the outdoors as well. It was so pretty. There's lakes. We saw a lot of turtles and koi fish. So there's a lot going on there at the Ringling Museum. Now, if you've ever been to the Biltmore in North Carolina, it kind of reminds me of that. I was talking about that with my sister-in-law, Sally. It made me think of that on a much smaller scale, because the Biltmore, if you've been there, is ginormous. So very Biltmore-esque. And so it was really fun to walk around there. I hadn't been there in years, and I thought, why don't I come here, on a semi-regular basis? It's just a delight. And then of course to look at the artwork as well. I like looking at the architecture of the buildings. So it was a beautiful, beautiful day. So I would recommend you check out the Ringling Museum and walk the grounds. Number 4, the Celery Fields. Okay, so actually the Celery Fields is not a field, it is now a hill. Sarasota actually has a big hill. Now, big is definitely subjective. It's a very subjective term. For us, it's huge because everything here is totally flat. The only time you see any elevation is when you go over a bridge to get out to one of the keys or the barrier islands. So this is a man-made hill, and the reason why it's called the Celery Fields is because back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, those were celery fields. And then, so it's kept its name. And so there's actually this giant man-made hill there, and there's a number of walking paths. There's some little benches up at the top. Some of the paths are very mild in terms of steepness. There's one at the face of the hill facing Palmer Road, where it's at just east of I-75. That's a little bit more steep. Again, it's all relative, but I've been there before where I've seen Boy Scouts hiking, trying to practice walking up and down that, and they had their walking sticks maybe in preparation for a trip is what I would imagine, or maybe they were just doing something to earn a badge, but they had their packs on and just maybe doing some strength training for a future hiking trip. So anyhow, that is our only elevated area here. So you can walk these trails. Across the street from it, there's a boardwalk, a gazebo over water, and it's just a fabulous place to see wildlife, to watch the sunset. It's just very peaceful up there, with one little exception. It is right next to a place called the Big Cat Habitat, and at the Big Cat Habitat they have lions and I think also tigers. That's a place I've never been to yet, but where it's a sanctuary for these animals. So when you're up there on that hill, all of a sudden you hear the roar of a lion. So in your mind it doesn't really compute kind of being up there in nature, and all of a sudden you hear this lion and you think, going on. So, but don't be scared. And so that's kind of a neat place too, is the Big Cat Habitat. In fact, actually one time that was on that one TV show with those guys, the Pickers. I forget what their names are, but anyhow, it made an episode, them going there and checking out some things and getting some circus memorabilia. So anyway, the Celery Fields is a really nice place to go if you, again, want some nice exercise, be out in the sunshine. There is no shade there, so you're definitely going to be out in the sun the whole time, but it really is a beautiful area to go to. And then finally, number 5, the Legacy Trail. Now, I've certainly mentioned the Legacy Trail in past videos, and if you get my e-newsletter every month, and if you do want to be on that list, just shoot me an email and I can set it up so you get that every month. But I do give updates on the Legacy Trail. So now they have completed what they've endeavored to do, where now the trail goes from Venice, where the old train depot used to be, all the way to downtown Sarasota. Now this was a Rails to Trails project because we don't have functional, we don't have trains running down here anymore since the circus had pulled out and then Tropicana. So there's no need for trains here. So they've converted them all to these beautiful trails. They're just wonderful. So whether you want to walk, run, push a stroller, ride a bike, you name it, you can do that. And I think it's 22.5 miles from Venice all the way to Sarasota, but I could be wrong on that. I really looked hard at a number of websites and I couldn't get the total number. So if you guys know what the exact number is, throw it in the comments below. And I know that they want to eventually work to extend that down to Northport. So of course this trail crosses main roads, so they do have a lot of lights that they've added. So even just to go from my house to my office, I have to cross 2 places where I have to be super, super cautious now, and watch for that. But anyhow, it's just a wonderful thing. And along the trail too, they do have some restrooms here and there. They do have some benches if you need to stop and rest. And then some of the area is going to be covered and shaded, and some of it will be out open to the sun. But it's a wonderful asset, and it's amazing how many people are using the Legacy Trail now in our area. Like I said, I drive through 2 of them, every day, and it just is incredible, the popularity of that. So I think that's a fantastic addition to our community. So as you can see, there's still a lot to do in the Sarasota area if you want to be outside, but not necessarily go to the beach. Now, just to keep this video from turning into an hour-long video, I only chose these 5, but I'm compiling a list of others for future videos. So this is just part 1 of Beyond the Beach. But if there's an area that you really enjoyed that you thought of and you don't want me to miss out on sharing it with other folks, drop it in the comments below. I always appreciate that good feedback so I can help people who are watching my videos. And then, are there other details you can share about these locations, these things that maybe you've experienced or enjoyed as well? Because always getting other people's firsthand experiences is a really nice thing to do. All right, well, if you're new to my channel, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jill Thomas, and I am a real estate agent here in the Sarasota-Bradenton area. And each week I bring videos about what it's like to live in the Sunshine State, and particularly this area. And then, of course, I like to talk about real estate. So if you've been thinking about making a move, whether you're coming here, shifting around in this area, or selling a property, then this just might be the channel for you. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you've already made it this far in the video, please hit the like button. That would be awesome. And then when you have more questions, or if there's anything else I can do for you, then please reach out to me, give me a call, text, or email me. All my contact information is down below in the description. Please know I'm here to help. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a great day.